Welcome everybody. Welcome everybody for being here. We thank you for taking time out to be here today. We go ahead and do the ethics statement. In accordance with North Carolina State Government Ethics Act, it is the duty of all board members to state any conflicts of interest or appearances of conflicts of interest with respect to any of the business before the board today and refrain from voting in matters which there is a conflict. Are there any conflicts with any of the business before the board today?
No.
All right. So we right on with the public comment.
Okay. It's very difficult for you to make videos, so no. But I do have some questions in regards to what was on the video for licensing. And I don't know if anybody's done any statistics, looked up anything, but I went to 6 of the major cities in North Carolina, looked at the first page of Google, and out of 111 companies, only 31 locksmiths have license numbers on their websites. That's only 27.93% people of compliance on the websites listing their license number. Now on the video, it says that the consumer can ask for the ID number and get their name, and then go to the verification website and put in the locksmith's name to get the information. I don't really understand where, if the statute requires that we have a license number on all forms of advertising, that you can't simply just go to the CertaMe website, punch in the locksmith's ID number, whether you see it on their van, websites, business cards. You cannot access any information on the locksmith based on their license number. So I'm wondering, one, it's supposed to be important, but it doesn't relate to the CertaMe website. So I've been trying to do better on my comments and not be all over the place. So I'm just trying to focus on one thing at a time. So that's pretty much about the only thing I have to say for today. But I think the license numbers being on the website of only at 27.93% doesn't meet the statute for a lot of companies. And I think if a person sees a locksmith driving down the street or looks up something, it should be a little bit easier than trying to track down their name, because that's not listed anywhere in order for them to go to a certain site. So
I don't know why they wouldn't have their license number there. I don't understand why they don't. On the vans.
right, but what I'm saying is, even if I give you my license number right now, and you go to the certain website, you can't punch in 2137 and look me up. Like stated in the video, you have to have my name. Ask my name.
Mr. Chair, may I be recognized?
Yes, sir.
This has been presented to the board before and is a common concern with our software vendor, CertaMe. The number cannot be punched in. Mr. Wayne is correct. However, you can sort by license number and scroll through the pages to get to see whose name is associated with that license. So, he brings a very good point that has been addressed to CertaMe, that we would like to be able to search by number. And I will be glad to take that back to them, that it was brought forward as well. The second point that was brought about the percentage of compliance, I would point out that many of the licensees either work for institutions such as yourself. So if I search for Carolina's healthcare system, your license number will not be
It
listed.
would not be listed on I-26B.
So also that number doesn't take into account apprentices and multiple locksmiths that are working for the same company that would be licensed. So, while he does present a startling statistic, there might be some where that number might be a little bit off, but whether to make it go up or down, I don't know.
Well, I'm just strictly going off of what's on the internet, searching 6 of the major cities.
Understood.
So it's actually people advertising to the public, not schools, not hospitals. We're talking people who actually service the public. So just not to skew the percentage.
Super excellent.
I will say this, I appreciate what you're saying as far as statistics. But from that, I don't know how you come up with that. That being a licensed locksmith, quite a lot of ads that are on Google are not licensed, not vetted, even when it says Google verified, they're not legitimate locksmiths. So your complaint is, from what I'm understanding, that people who are legitimate are not advertising with their license number. And I don't think your statistic, based on your research, holds water.
No, my complaint is it's required by statute or law.
I understand
That
that.
advertising has to have a license.
A legitimate locksmith, a legitimate locksmith is required to advertise with their license. That is correct. But we only have jurisdiction over licensed locksmiths. Of the people that you've done, there are a ton of fake, false advertisements going on through Google. And it's well known, but it's not enforceable by us, and we can't attack that. As far as the CERMI site, we have addressed that multiple times, requesting them to change the way that the search engine works within their software. And honestly, we haven't gotten the best results back from it, which is discouraging because we're a small fish in their big pond, as reality sits. But because of financial concerns, we're limited to who we can use and what attention we get. Sadly, we're just not getting the attention from them. We're doing the best we can within the resources we have. But I appreciate what you're saying. There are some legitimate locksmiths that are not advertising with their number. And those are people that we can call and say, you need to change this. Some of them don't even realize it, but there's a lot more fakes than there are reals in there.
Okay, but if there's no way to go to CERTME and check a company name, because I would have cross-referenced every one of them so that I could come in here. There are some locksmiths that I know for a fact are licensed in my area that do not have their license number. But as I've been told in the past, that me as a locksmith, even though I am a member of the public, for me to file a complaint is basically worthless because if there's no crime, there's no
If your complaint
so
is that there's a locksmith advertising without advertising their license number, I would encourage you to email the board, and we can send a letter out to them, for them to come into compliance. And without spending a costly investigative measure to get them in compliance. What you've been told in the past about calling about a complaint is when somebody has suffered, that we're gonna have to send an investigator out, which is several thousands of dollars to send that out. When we don't have, as a prior law enforcement officer, no victim, no crime. Don't have the person that suffered the loss being the complainant. We have nothing we can go on further on down the road with the legal side of it. And that's why we don't spend the money on those type of things. What you're describing, send in if you know somebody is advertising or not doing it, we'll send them a compliance letter. And we'll have them come in and explain themselves.
If I could just jump in there for a minute as well, because I know you and I have talked about this before. We welcome any complaints you want to file with the board. Whether you're licensed or not has no bearing on the way that we look at a complaint that's submitted to us. I think to John's point, if it's a complaint filed for which you don't have firsthand information, so you've heard from somebody else that somebody was hurt, those are the types of complaints that are hard for us to prosecute. So you have
I can file 111 complaints right now on people advertising without a license.
You're welcome to do it.
As he stated, if they're not licensed, you have no jurisdiction, but they're to send out a letter to at least put people on notice or at least attempt to do something. I mean, I
think they should do
understand,
that.
I understand you're short on money, but they did just increase the rates by 33%, which I've stated privately that I think's way too low. Me personally, I could care less how much I have to spend for my membership. So I understand there's limited funds, but several months ago, it was 1/3 less than what it should be now. But
And my, Yeah.
there's no follow-up on what's required by the statute to try to even send a letter to people to say, hey, be in compliance. I mean, there's not even like an attempt to do anything. It was brought up in 2007 at one of the minutes. Because I printed them all out, by the way, I'm still waiting for, I think, 3 or 4 years. So I've gone through every single minute since then, and it was brought up in 2007 with stuff similar to this situation. And it's not something that's brought up all the time, and people, I get it. I'm just staying focused on this because otherwise, but that's just my thing is, if you're trying to help the public and it's required by the statute or the law, it's a fairly simple process. Now, if somebody wants me to go through and look up all the addresses and give you a list of 111 people and want to send out letters, I'll make the time to do
yeah,
it.
you're welcome to do, so that's what I'm telling you,
But
is
if
I want
nobody's
you,
gonna
I want your
follow
takeaway
up-
from this to be, you are welcome to submit that information to us.
But if nobody's gonna follow up or send a letter or anything.
Marty will send a letter, he just told you.
Yeah, I'll send a letter.
He will send a letter
Just
to
stated.
you.
What my statement was about resources is what Catherine so eloquently put is we're not going after hearsay complaints. If you are not the direct victim of a situation, we're not gonna spend the money to investigate. The person who is the victim needs it. What you're describing is a failure to comply with the licensing act. If you know of an individual who is advertising, they're failing to comply, if you send us that information, we will get in touch with that person or attempt to get in touch with that person and address them and get them in compliance with the law. We're not in any way, shape, or form trying to discourage you. In fact, we're doing the exact opposite and encouraging you to send that type of information in. What we're trying to discourage people from doing is getting angry because they are a hearsay. They've heard about this person suffering. They're not the true victim, but then they want us to spend resources to investigate. It's a loss. We can only do that when it's the direct person.
I'd like to, I think I want to sharpen what John is saying a little bit. And I think I'm gonna bring an example and maybe if I'm wrong about this, maybe my colleagues can correct me, but essentially we would love to see a world where all children are playing great and everyone's getting along and no one's bullying anyone, right? But I can't raise other people's children. I can only raise my own, right? So this is a little bit off of an example, right? But I can only tell my kids how to behave, how to act. The board can only tell licensees, right, how to behave and how to act and what to do online. Granted, yes, there was an increase by 1/3 of our budget. We still don't have the opportunity or ability to allocate someone to just send out emails to Google about every unlicensed locksmith who is advertising without a license. We can only tell our kids what to do, so to speak, right? We can only discipline our children. So on the same token, we can only address concerns about licensed locksmiths who are advertising without their license number on the internet. And for those ones specifically are the ones that we encourage, not just you, but also other licensees and other members of the public who are welcome to bring that to the attention of the board, because again, we don't have someone who's sitting in front of a computer actually looking every day. And I wish we could. It would be wonderful if we could, because it would make, we would want to see perfect compliance. So I think that might help clarify how.
The only thing I had to it, the purpose of the video was to get what you got out of it, to educate the public, to look for that number, to ask for that number, to ask for the person's name, to verify. That's the purpose of these videos, to not only educate people who are actually licensees and don't realize it, but to educate the public, to ask for it, to request it, and to get licensees to encourage people to do that. to verify who you go business with. That's the point of the videos, is trying to educate both licensees and the public. Things they may not realize or be aware of in a different format. Though we've done print and everything else, video is just another format.
All right, well, that we good, we'll move on to the agenda here. Need a motion on the floor to approve the agenda.
Make a motion for you.
Have a motion on the floor, and Deanna said she'd say, it. All in favor? Any disapproved? Carried. All right, we need approval of the previous meeting minutes. I hope everybody's read them.
I'll make one.
Have a motion? Second.
She said,
Okay, second, all in favor of approving the minutes?
Aye.
Any disapproved? Carried. All right. The approval of the financial report, if I read that, see,
Motion to approve.
have a motion,
second.
and a second, all in favor of approval of the financial report? Any opposed? Okay, it's time for Catherine for legal.
Okay, thank you. Well, I appreciate the opportunity to join y'all today. Just wanted to let you quickly know about a House bill that will become law on next Monday, October the 6th. It was ratified by the General Assembly last week. It's been sent over to the governor's office. He has announced that he will decline to sign it, but it will become effective law without his signature next Monday, October 6th. This is the Regulatory Reform Act bill passed this session. I'm bringing it up to you because there's two things in there that I think are important for this board and all other boards to know. One, there's a new requirement in the law that boards must verify social security numbers of applicants for licensure. And there's a mechanism set forth in the law for boards to do that through the Social Security Administration. And Barb and I have talked offline about that, so I'm glad we can work with this office to make sure they have the resources that they need in order to start doing that going forward. The second piece that's most relevant to boards in that bill relates to issuance of notice of hearings. Under current, as we sit here today, currently boards are only required to give 15 days notice to licensees before issuing a notice of hearing for a disciplinary proceeding. That is now going to be increased to 30 days. That won't have any big impact on this board. Frankly, it's probably a good thing for folks to get more notice. But they want to flag that for you as well. So that's the biggest piece going on with legislation right now. I know we have some rulemaking business to talk about later on in the session, but I'm glad to answer any questions you have about pending legal matters.
Do we want to say anything that we're going to be filing 2 injunctions soon? Unlicensed activity.
Yes, Ryan has those underway right now. Let's see anything more about that. Otherwise, undergoing.
Yeah, undergoing, Leroy and his team, did some great investigative work. Finding some different entities around, like, scouting on potential. It's a good voice.
We won't say too much more about that in the section, but we are continuing to prosecute those cases when Leroy brings us the good evidence that is going to help us get together. That's it. Thank you.
Office report.
Yes, I've actually got a formal office report. As we noted, obviously, anybody watching this meeting, this is our first recorded meeting. It's actually our second. We had technical difficulty with the first recorded meeting, but this is the first one that will be recorded and put on the YouTube channel. So instead of just winging our work, I've got a formal report that I'll read through and hopefully not put the audience to sleep. So the board office, I'm working on the auditor for our annual audit, which is due October 31st. In addition, we have our annual report, which is due October 31st. As a reminder, those reports are submitted to the General Assembly, Secretary of State, Governor's Office, AG's office, the Auditor's Office. And those are public record, that you can access all the reports and audits every year. I have also ordered new renewal reminder cards. I was preparing to send out, those neon postcard size cards, for the next 6 to 8 months. I always pull the database and send those out, 6 to 8 months ahead of time. And I looked on the back of them and they have our old fee and renewal information. So a new batch of renewal cards has been ordered. They should be bright yellow or bright green. Just a reminder, the content of those cards, the renewal scheme has been changed. No longer are licenses due 30 days before they are due. They are due on the date that it says they are due. Any renewals received postmarked after their due date, if postmarked or submitted online after their due date, are subsequent to a late fee. Any renewals received 1 year after their expiration are subject to an even higher reinstatement fee. And the flip side of that is you only need 8 hours of continuing education to reinstate that license. Since our last meeting, August 6th, 28 new licenses, that number does include apprentices, have been issued by the office. 30 renewals have been processed. The YouTube channel is up and running. Obviously, at the time of this meeting, 4 videos have been posted. Hopefully this will be the 5th. The board did attend at Wake County Courthouse a consideration of the Kavir Cohen revocation. This board previously voted to revoke Mr. Cohen's license. The judge has remanded that decision to the board for revision and review, and that will come before the board in December. So that's my official.
Martin, just a quick question, going back to the YouTube channel. Do we have any way of knowing how many hits we get on that?
Yes.
We do. Oh,
There
cool.
is. It's well received. I mean, I think John's looked at it some, but I mean, we're around, 100 views per video, so it's getting out there.
Those are also videos that people are gonna be referencing for a long time. It's gonna be, it's maybe right now it's not so interesting to people, but as it becomes relevant to people, they'll be looking at it. And I do want to take a moment to thank John for putting on the time to make those videos and quality videos, good information. They're doing great. Keep it up.
Yeah, John, I want your autograph.
Yeah.
That and 50 cent might get you a cup of coffee.
Hot dog.
I will say, since you brought it up, please, the biggest, most difficult part of the whole process is coming up with a script. If you guys got any ideas or want to do the script, or please send me stuff, send Barton stuff, whatever. Let's all try and work together and come up with a script that's interesting and you guys feel a part of it as far as ideas or whatever you want to get across.
Can we give CE credit to other locksmith licenses to do their scripts and to participate? I'm dead serious. I mean, is there a way to kind of do that? Because you're essentially creating study manuals and courses on that end. I mean, it might be a creative way for the association to participate or to engage outside resources.
I think we have to make a rule change, wouldn't we?
Well, I think
So
the purpose
especially-
of this to solicit feedback for the scripts. I think at this point, we just start that conversation, make that outreach, and then we can look at it, see what we need to do to make it fit within the existing CE. Yeah.
I wonder if YouTube has a way of actually telling you how much time this person viewed of it. If you viewed the entire video, and I don't know, if YouTube gives that type of tracking information for you to see someone actually watch the videos, but I do like the idea. I definitely think that we can add either in the beginning or in the end to encourage people to submit their ideas for information that they would like to see on the channel in the comments.
So that's what I've done. I think every one of them. That I've said, you know, please submit your topics or answer.
There's some bright minds out there, people like mine over here. Put in the time.
Well, it would be a good newsletter idea to send out, asking for input.
Yeah, the YouTube channel I think is powerful powerful tool. Even just a few hundreds by now, just back saying.
Any unfinished business?
We got the education.
Oh, yeah, skip right there, sure, yeah, skip right over that, that's important.
So I was gonna say, I had one person who tests and passed the minimum. That's all I got.
I don't have anything, and I'm sorry, it's a little muffled on my end, so it's taking me a couple extra seconds to comprehend, but I don't have anything since I wasn't in a testing here last month or two.
I've got one, thank you, Diane. I've got one this weekend, Saturday at Pitt Community College. I got about 14 people signed up. And then we'll have another one in November in Burlington. So, Eric, let me know if you're
What's
on
the
board.
date? What's the date, Barton?
I knew you were gonna ask me. I think it's November 4th. November 8th, I'm sorry, November 8th.
10-4, I'll look at my calendar and get back with you. I should be able to make that though. Same bat time we had before,
Yes.
10-4.
And I don't mind if I'm needed, just let me know.
Thank you so much.
That's close to this. You got. And this number, then it is. Okay. All right, well, thank you all for the ones that are going out there, doing the examinations, watching over. I think it's made it easy. You got it graded now, and I know that's bound to be better than everybody. They got them under as bad as anything. You do 25 head and you got them just standing at the door wanting to know what their grade is, and they write, they didn't pass it. Any old business, unfinished business? Right? New business, I think we got some rule changes we need to get into.
Do,
I think that'd be a head up.
yes, Ms. Barton, you want to take the lead on that? Okay. In your packets, you have some new business material, mainly some rules, both section 200 on examination, section 500 on code of ethics. These are recommended changes that came to us through Bart and his team. Ways that we can perhaps modernize, clean up some of the existing language that's in rule. In the materials that you've got in front of you, you can see the yellow highlighted language underlined through the additions to the rules. Anything that's struck through would be taken out of the rule. I'd like to walk through each of these individually if you feel okay for us to do so, Bart. Most of them are fairly self-explanatory about bringing them in line with the way the board's currently doing business with examinations anyway. Change in the first rule 201 makes it clear that the examination fee is $200 every time someone goes to take the exam. We had a sliding scale previously that may allow a second time applicant to pay a lesser amount than $200 if they failed to pass the first time. Board staff's recommendation that be changed so that now it's just a $200 fee every time somebody says to take the exam, without us having to go back through the history and the passage scores, ACCs for the second, third, or fourth class. We also clarified in this rule that any fees that may be assessed by the commercial testing center for the applicant to sit in the commercial testing center to take the examination would be borne by the applicant, not the board. In the next rule 202, here we're really codifying the application form that's already in existence. There would be no changes here to the way that the board currently solicits information from applicants in order to submit the exams, just making sure that it's all clear in the rules it's supposed to be. Moving over to page 5 of your document is rule 0204, requirements for exam fees. We clarified what we mean by an acceptable form of application for applicants coming to sit for the examination. Cleaned up what an applicant can or cannot bring to the testing site. I do want to pause here though for a moment to see if there's any feedback on the issue of cell phones coming into the testing center. So that's an issue we talked about.
Yeah, but personally, I feel like that instead of being should be turned off, we just need, they shouldn't be there. You don't bring it to testing period.
The last few times I did it, I asked them to put them up on the counter.
I
I turned them off and put them in front, but I think it'd be better just to press it because
just leave my car, do whatever, don't bring it.
exactly. Because I think that was aggravating, and then even with dad up there, they start ringing. I'd ask them sounds limited, they start ringing while they go to. So I think you're better off just maybe
Just
not.
prohibit, just prohibit on period.
They life lived a long time about cell phone. They can certainly live 2 hours about
So maybe not all of them.
it.
What about if folks do bring cell phones into the testing center? Do you want to add something here that will be grounds for their dismissal from the testing site?
I think that'd be appropriate.
I said, refuse. Take it out. I think you could ask them, you're not supposed to bring it. But, that'd be better.
I think you will be covered on down here further where it talks about if the proctor determines the disruption or whatever, I think you'd be covered by that part of it.
I didn't read it.
Okay.
Right.
So if they're being disruptive in the opinion of the proctor while in the examination room, the proctor has the authority to remove them from the testing site. We'll make clear here that if they're removed and their fee for the examination is forfeited, they don't pass the examination, or they haven't completed the exam.
Right.
And the failure to leave their cell phone out of the testing center would be considered grounds to remove them as well. I see heads nodding on the screen. Does anybody have any thoughts, comments on this?
What was the cell phone comment again?
Yeah, there's discussion here about whether folks should be able to bring their cell phones in but turn off their cell phones, or whether they should be excluded completely from the testing
I
site.
got you. What I have done is I have them turn them off if they bring them in, because some people get there 15, 20 minutes early. And I have them bring the study guide and the cell phones. I have a table up front just for them at the time, unless it's changed.
Yeah. Do you have preference as to whether we need to tell folks to just leave them out of the testing center altogether?
About half already do, but the ones that don't, I have them put them on the table, but I don't have a preference.
I think myself, it would be better just leaving out in the car or whatever, not bring them in. That way there's no arguments, there's no nothing, having to cut them off, cut bringers off, and that's disruptive. He's all-
Yeah, I know, I'm sorry, I don't mean to interrupt the thought, but I know Aloha, for their PRP, they do ask people not to bring their cell phones in to the testing. Period.
I wonder if we can we can also add something here about smartwatches. Because nowadays they have AI enabled smartwatches that you can hit a crown, or hit a button and say,
I'm not that smart with this, so I don't have one, so I never thought about
Why don't we
that.
just say, instead of doing cell phones, just say electronic devices.
cellular,
Electronic devices.
specifically cellular communication devices. Not, in other words, wouldn't be an electronic device that doesn't have connection to the internet doesn't bother me. Okay, my concern is about something that has.
But
Specifically, it's cellular.
do we want to put a proctor to make that determination whether to say that or not, or just do away with it and not to worry about it? So you
In
want
other words,
to,
folks wouldn't be able to come in with a watch at all.
There's a big clock, about 3 clocks, and it probably, they should be able to see what time it is.
Fair enough.
and what do you need? When I proctor test, I've always put every hour written on the board, what it is, and when they got 15 minutes left or 14 minutes left, whatever, I go up there and I show them the time, how much time they got left, so I don't know why you even need to watch.
Fair enough. And we can actually even, we can probably buy just a cheap clock. One of those digital counter, yeah, and put it on the counter in front of the tester. It's a good idea, so I think we shouldn't add that in there, because now I wouldn't put it past someone trying to sneak in a quick AI, you know.
No electronic devices,
Yep.
is the consensus I'm hearing.
Yep.
Yeah, see it on the screen, okay. All right. And then the last change we have in this section 2 on examinations is in the last page, 206. This cleans up some of the language about how an applicant can go about requesting a testing accommodation under the Americans with Disabilities Act. The type of information that you can provide to the board to make a proper request, how the board will review and consider those requests upon receipt. All right, so any other discussion on these proposed rules for examinations?
You did make, did you include the fact that, pass or fail is not, given at the end of that test? That they do have to wait until a later time?
Yeah, we didn't put that into the rule, but
Probably a
that's,
good idea.
we're glad to do it. Yeah, I don't think it's necessarily required, since that could be the internal practice of the board, but they're probably letting the public to know that, so you can point to tell them they have to wait. So we can certainly do that.
I think that'd probably be, a good thing. That way they don't ask me. That's how you think.
You can tell them it's the rule.
And we've also discussed in the past about language and translation as not being a reasonable accommodation. Like no translators or asking questions about what word might mean in English. Do we need any special language or consideration about that? Or we're already kind of covered just because of the way that this is kind of administered?
That's a very good point. And I like what you're saying, Mike. I was gonna say, because when I did the testing, I felt like I was being taken advantage of in a way, right, by using that. I don't understand the question, right? Explain the question. And by explaining the question, sometimes that, I wouldn't say gives away the answer, right? But when you translate to a different language, I can tell you it's extremely challenging in some cases. I think, considering the fact that everyone taking the test is taking the test in English, it should be possibly like in aviation, you know, where it's the language used. If you don't understand English, then I'm sorry, you're not gonna pass this
That's
test.
what I was gonna say, if you live in America, you need to learn the language.
Yeah.
Well, we take the position before that the study guide is provided ahead of time, and that if you need to translate the study guide, you've got more than ample opportunity to do so. But I don't know if we need anything explicit here in the testing protocols for that, so.
I don't think we.
It's not, and there's no legal requirement that the board give any accommodations to non-English speakers in order to take and pass the test. It is the board's determination that English proficiency is one of the minimum competencies in order to engage in the practice of locksmith. Then, you know, that's your basis for not providing it in translation. The ADA is a little different because there are separate federal requirements in that body of law that require boards to offer reasonable accommodations for this type of testing procedure. That does not exist when it comes to other protected characteristics like nationality or race or sex or gender. It's disabilities is a different category. So you're welcome to put something in here if you want to, but I don't think it's legally required that you do so. I think better have an internal process on how to respond to those types of requests when you get at the testing centers.
I think that's appropriate, yeah.
Because
I'll make a motion that, as corrected during the conversation, we go ahead and I guess grant or approve, for continuation of the rules that we set here.
Here we have a motion before to set the rules as changed and read out.
I'll second.
All in favor? Any opposed?
So what that means is that we will initiate rulemaking with the Rules Review Commission. We will post these proposed rules on the board's website. We will, the Rules Review Commission will review them and publish them in the North Carolina Register. We'll start a public comment period of at least 60 days, so that anybody who wishes to comment on these proposed rules can provide either written feedback to Barton or can appear at a public hearing that we'll hold at our next board meeting, so that people can give verbal comments on these rules if they wish to do so. After the 60-day period, this board will again consider these proposed rules and decide whether it formally wants to move forward with the amendments that we discussed today. At that time, if the board votes to do so, we follow again with the Rules Review Commission for review. So let's take a look at the rules in section 500 under Code of Ethics. We just have the one for your consideration with regard to the obligation of a licensed locksmiths. You have here new proposed paragraphs C through G that would clarify the relationship between a licensed locksmith and his or her apprentices, and the manner in which supervision needs to be provided by the supervisor to those apprentices, the nature of the working relationship that must be established, and an understanding of the licensed locksmith that they're to have reporting obligations to the board of any gross negligence, incompetence, or misconduct committed by their apprentice. Open this up for any discussion.
The only thing that I see that kind of sets a red flag for me, in paragraph B, it states the term employee shall mean every person engaged in employment under a contract of hire or apprenticeship, express or implied, oral or written, including non-citizens and also minors, whether lawfully or unlawfully employed. I think, my opinion, that kind of leads into a 1099 situation, or, you know, a subcontractor, and that's what the whole problem is. We got these apprentices. So I feel like if we strike under a contract of hire or apprentice and just let it read, engage in employment express or implied, oral or written, including non-citizens or minors, that removes that loophole for them to exploit as far as a contract employee. You correct me if I'm wrong. You correct me if I'm wrong or whichever, but that's my opinion.
Yeah, I think the consensus that I'm hearing from John is that we want to make clear that a 1099 independent contractor relationship is not being considered an employee for purposes of this rule or the statute. So we remove the language under a contract of hire or apprenticeship from the existing language that's in paragraph B of this rule. Okay.
Yeah, I agree with it as well, and I'll make a motion if that's necessary. Or if we could just include that in the.
I just wanted to ask about C. There's a second sentence in C, the proposed C, that says a licensed locksmith shall provide direct control and supervision for all apprentice locksmiths and their employee. Do we need to define that term? Supervision, direct control, supervision.
And that is a term that's used in the Practice Act.
Okay.
If the board wanted to provide additional clarity as to what that means for direct control and supervision, it certainly could. I think the remaining paragraphs are kind of attempted to do that.
Okay, that's fine.
Yeah.
Motion.
You got a motion to
Yeah,
save it?
I'll second.
Got a motion to second to,
A second.
all in favor?
Good.
Any opposed? Carried.
We'll also have those with the rules of the commission and a public comment period as I just described it for the previous rules. Okay. The second piece of business here under new business is to take up again the petitions for rulemaking that were submitted by Mr. Wayne in advance of our last board meeting. We went into closed session briefly to talk about attorney-client protected information about the petition for review process last time. Before we take this up in open session, I just wanted to ask, was there any motions to go into closed session again to get any advice from counsel on the rulemaking petition process? Or are we ready to have a conversation about these proposed rules in open session now?
Sorry.
Okay, all right. All right.
Or do entertain a motion to? Yes. Has everybody had a chance to review this stuff? Cause I was the one that set the table, and it was so everybody had a chance to read it. Has everybody read it? Mayor? Okay.
Pretty much.
Does anybody want to discuss anything? If not, I'm gonna make a motion that we grant the petition as it is and forward it on through the process.
10-4, work.
Yeah.
May I clarify, is that for petitions that are currently? pending?
Yes,
Okay,
yes.
thank you.
Yes, for both petitions,
Yes.
motion granted, carry it forward.
Yeah,
10-4,
carry
that'll
forward.
work. Mm-hmm.
Have a second?
I'll second it.
All right, Jack, say, all in favor?
All in favor? Aye.
Aye. That's
Opposed?
good.
Okay, thank you. We'll get those
It was well done.
rules and commissions on.
All righty.
Before we adjourn.
Absolutely.
One thing I just want to call everybody's attention to. Next meeting by the bylaws is gonna be elections for next year's executive. Treasurer, vice chair, and chair positions. So if you have interest, whatever, anybody that's gets nominated, someone's got to nominate somebody, and then once you get nominated, personally, I think whoever's nominated should give a little spiel about why they would like to hold that position or whatever. Just trying to give everybody a heads up, prepare for the next meeting. So we got elections coming. If you're interested in a position or whatever, just have something prepared, so you're not calling to go like I've been in the past. So,
All righty.
other than that,
Thank you.
That's the December 6th meeting, correct? That's the December 6th meeting.
December, yeah, December,
Whatever that
first Wednesday, this first thing.
December 3rd is what's on your agenda here.
Third, okay. December third.
Well, again, I want to thank everybody for taking their time, comments. All the comments, all comments are good. That gives us something to talk about. Wayne, I appreciate you coming.
Can I ask one question?
Yes, sir.
Through all my craziness, and I was just trying to scan through is there a link that takes the North Carolina website to the YouTube? Because somewhere I found it, but then when I went to go back on the website to look for it, I couldn't find it. So I had to go back through my history to drag it.
There's a YouTube logo at the bottom of the website,
Oh, is there?
and the little, looks like a play button, and then there's an F for Facebook, there's little logos at the bottom.
Okay.
But I'm happy to consider putting it more prominently on the page.
Yeah, I mean, I think if the videos are gonna be like promoted and things like that, I think it'd be a little, not that people are gonna go to the website without a newsletter. But at least it would be easier to go to the website, click on the link and then go right to the YouTube videos.
And link maybe under resources.
That's not, you can take it.
It is another issue.
And that would be good. I can't see the trees from far sometimes, so it might help. Have a motion to adjourn?
I'll make that motion.
We got a second. Now, I'm
Second.
turning, going home, going back to work.
Yep.
Yes, thank you for coming.
All right, thank you guys.
Thank
Thank
you.
you so much, everybody. Good seeing you.
Great one.
Yeah, see
Till
you
next time.
December.
All right.
Thank you.
Sorry, he said.